It is Wednesday, January 3rd, and the Splash Zone is back in your life. I am Matt Modi, and I'm here to give you my 4 favorite NBA player props for today's NBA betting slate. Again, we're talking Wednesday, January 3rd. Of course, before I can get into today's picks, I got to do a recap from yesterday, which was completely fine. I had another 4 picks. I went 2-2 on those 4 picks, but because all 4 were of the plus money banger variety, we end the day with a slight profit of 0.4 units. I'm never going to apologize for a profitable day. We were only one Domantas Sabonis bucket away from getting our to go 3-1. We had him 25 plus points. He scored 23, but that's okay. We'll take a day in which we are making money. On the entire year, we are up 22.85 units with an ROI of 16.8%. It's been very good. Hopefully we can have a better day today than we had yesterday. If you are not already, would appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. And let's get into today's picks. Let's get wet. First game that we're going to talk about is the Bucks-Pacers game. And we're taking Giannis, 40 plus points, plus 145 odds at FanDuel. Now, I understand that this one might seem super square. I haven't checked a bunch of social media, so I don't know if everybody is going to be on Giannis or not. If they are, then yes, this is going to seem a little square. And considering the fact that we're taking Giannis to score 40 points and we're only getting plus 145 odds. But despite all that, I'm still riding. For starters, all you can really do is look at the data available to you. And odds have been getting more and more favorable in terms of Giannis scoring. And when I say more favorable, I mean more money is coming in on the over for Giannis points, so the number is getting higher and higher. For example, last night, I locked in Giannis 40 plus points at plus 155 odds. Overnight, it now moved to plus 145. Giannis's point total over under opened at 36.5. Now pretty much every book has it at 37.5, with the over as the favored outcome. So books are projecting him to go off in this one, and it makes complete sense. Here is what Giannis has done against the Pacers in the past 2 years. So yes, this does date back to last year. 41, 25, and that 25, that's the only time he's scored fewer than 30 points against the Pacers. So he's got 41, 25, 38, 54, 37, 64, and 30. That means he has cleared 40 plus points in 3 of 7 games, with one game being just under at 38 and another one being just under that at 37. And we all know that Giannis is very much team petty. And for those of you that live under a rock or don't follow the NBA super closely, there was a huge, weird blow-up situation with Giannis and the Pacers. When he scored 64 points, that was a career high. He wanted to keep the game ball. Apparently, the Pacers stole the game ball from him, in which he was really pissed, and he sprinted back to the locker room to try and get the ball. He's going to want to go off against the Pacers. That definitely helps with his motivation. But regardless, that's actually not why we are on Giannis tonight. Yes, that team petty, all that BS does help a little bit. You don't want to make a ton of betting decisions based off of that, because more often than not, it actually won't work in your favor. I like this play a lot, strictly for basketball reasons. The Pacers defense is horrible. They're bad across the board. One area in which they are especially horrible is allowing points in the paint. We all know that's where Giannis loves to live. You want to know why Giannis has been able to torch the Pacers? It's because they cannot guard the paint. They don't have the bodies to handle Giannis physically. The Pacers give up the most points per game in the paint in the NBA at 62.1. The next closest team is the Wizards, and they are almost 4 full points below them at 58.6. That's the reason, again, why Giannis has been able to blow up against the Pacers. They cannot guard the paint. I also like the fact that these two teams just played in Milwaukee, and he only scored 30 points. Everybody knows that I love the flip-flop method. If you are new to my channel, then you're now learning. I love fading recent results. So the fact that they just played and he only scored 30 makes me like him to blow up more in this one. I'm also laddering him up to 50 points as well. I would like to put a quarter unit on that. The books limited me to only like $10. So for you, whatever a quarter unit is, I also like Giannis to get the 50 plus points. That's our first play. Giannis, let's hope he can go off. Next up, we're actually sticking in the same game, Bucks versus Pacers, and we're taking Tyrese Halliburton over 13.5 assists, plus 114 odds at FanDuel. So we're sticking in the same game here this time. backing Halliburton from an assist perspective. Now, I will admit, I really struggled with Halliburton because I knew I wanted to target him because the value was there and the matchup is there as well. But I struggled with his points or assists. Obviously, I ended up settling on his assists because the reality is Halliburton just hasn't been the same scorer that he was leading up into the in-season tournament. Prior to that, in the in-season tournament, he was scoring a ton. Since then, he hasn't been scoring nearly as much. I do like his points in general, but we're sticking with assists. I will admit he's turned it around a little bit from a scoring perspective in the past 5 games, but overall, there's a clear line of difference between pre-in-season tournament and post-in-season tournament. What he has consistently done all year, and is actually doing even more of, is passing the ball extremely well and racking up a ton of assists. He's gotten to 14 or more assists in 4 of his last 6 games, and that includes a 2-game stretch in which he had a combined 43 assists. He had 20 against the Bulls. The very next game, he had 23 against the Knicks. Those are 2 defenses that are generally difficult to rack up assists against, and he literally got to 20 in both. Now, as I mentioned, these 2 teams just played 2 days ago, and as you can probably guess, Halliburton went under in that game. That makes me like this over even more. Again, I love fading recent results, but you also need to look into that game a little bit. In that game, TJ McConnell had 9 assists for the Pacers. He has never had more than 9 assists in an entire game this year, so that ties the most assists he's had in a game this year. His over-under was only 4.5, and he averages just under 5 assists per game. That's clearly an outlier. So what I expect to happen in this game is Halliburton picks up some of those assists that TJ McConnell was getting last game. Also, as I mentioned, the Bucks defense is terrible at guarding point guards. Their on-ball defense is so bad that they're consistently allowing damage to the from the point guards against their defense. Generally, I will admit, I do like to target point guard point props against the Bucks, but in this case with Halliburton, we're targeting his assist. Absolutely love it as our second play of the slate. Next up, in the Pistons versus Jazz game, Cade Cunningham, 10 plus assists, plus 190 odds at FanDuel. So another assist play here. This time we are backing Cade to get to double-digit assists. You know, despite the fact that the Pistons have won one of their past 30 games or close to that, Cade has actually been playing awesome recently. He's been really good as a scorer. He's also been really good as a playmaker as well, and especially been good as a playmaker since the Pistons have gotten some guys back from injury. Now it's only translated to 1 win, but at least their roster makes a little bit more sense getting guys like Bojan Bogdanovic back. The spacing was desperately needed for the Pistons, who had no shooting. Since they have gotten Bojan back from injury, Cade is averaging just under 8 assists per game, and he's cleared 10 or more assists in 5 of 14 games. So yes, 5 in 14 games isn't a great win percentage, but if you look at his stats without Bojan in the lineup, he's averaging 7.1 assists per game, so it's almost a full assist below, and he only cleared 10 or more assists in 3 of 19 games. So it's been much better since Bojan came back. As I mentioned, Cade has been playing well recently as well. He's got 10 assists in each of the past 2 games and in 3 of 6 games as well. Generally, I do like to fade recent results, but in this case, I'm actually backing them because I do think that there is a tangible difference, A, in the playmaking of Cade, and B, getting guys like Bojan back in the lineup. I also really like the matchup against the Jazz. The Jazz defense is terrible. They're one of the worst in the NBA in terms of allowing assists to point guards. They allow the second most assists per game, specifically to opposing point guards. Only the Wizards allow more. Somehow, the Jazz have allowed 11 of the last 13 point guards against them to go over their assist number over-under. 4 in that span have reached double digits, and that actually includes Cade Cunningham, who got to 10 assists last time these 2 teams played on December 21st. So I love backing Cade in this one. Hopefully he can come through for us. And lastly, our 4th and final pick of the slate in the Raptors versus Grizzlies game, Emmanuel Quickly over 2.5 made 3-pointers, plus 145 odds. This is at DraftKings. So it's our last play of the night. It's only right to go back to our splash zone roots with a 3-pointer prop. I will say I'm laddering this one up to 4+ made 3-pointers as well. DraftKings is offering this at plus 340 odds, and I'm putting a small 0.3 unit play on the ladder play. But we only officially track whether he gets the actual play I'm giving out. But I do like to tell people when I'm laddering plays and whatnot. Now, Quickly's only played one game with the Raptors, so we don't have a ton of data, obviously, and the data with the Knicks is not going to be the same. But in my opinion, and this is going to be a projection, I really like Quickly's fit on the Raptors. They need a point guard like him who can shoot and he's a little bit more dynamic on offense. And I think his spacing is going to help the Raptors immensely. And I also think he's going to have the ultimate green light to fire away from deep. The Raptors really don't have any plus shooting. Quickly is going to help that. Now, he did go under in his first game with the Raptors. He went 2 of 5 from deep. But again, that's only one game, so I'm not going to make any sweeping conclusions from one game. In general, as I mentioned, I do think that he's going to shoot a ton from deep for the Raptors. And in this specific matchup, he's got a great opportunity to do so against the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are among the worst teams in the NBA at guarding the 3-point line. They allow the third most made 3-pointers in the NBA, and they allow the third highest 3-point percentage as well. They allow the second most 3-pointers made specifically to point guards. And what I really like is this last part is crazy. So this is according to props.cash, who lists the defense and where they rank in terms of a specific position and a prop as well. So if you're looking at 3-point props specifically, the Grizzlies are listed as 30th, which means the easiest matchup for point guards, which is Quickly's position, and power forwards. And they're the second easiest matchup for small forwards. There's only 5 positions on an NBA court, and 3/5 of them against the Grizzlies are very, very juicy matchups for 3-pointer props. So I love Quickly in this one. Hopefully he can get us to 3 or 4 made 3-pointers, cashing this banger. And that's all we got. 4 plays for you guys to lock in. If you are riding with me, make sure to comment and let me know. Other than that, like, subscribe, all that good stuff helps me out a ton. Appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.